Hi everyone, and welcome to a special VBJ Lockdown Lowdown. This is part 2 of a series we're doing with Alan Robinson and Vicky from Vet Dynamics and accountant Jeff Lerma. Hi guys.
Hi Jane.
Hi. Last time we were speaking about the current climate, the buying bubble, and perhaps some of the options for practice owners who might be looking to sell now and how best to do that, or even people who might be looking to sell sometime down the line. The importance of making sure you've got your business valued, you know where you're at, you know what it's worth. Today, we want to talk about starting your own business. Now, that might seem counterintuitive to some with a pandemic still sort of low burning outside, but there are opportunities, aren't there, Alan? So I'd like you to open on that, and what would be your advice to someone looking to start a practice? Just don't bother, or have a go?
Good question, James. And I think when we finished off last time, I sort of mentioned that there's 2 startup options. Younger vets who have had that succession planning process removed as an option for them, so they really have to go out and start their own practice. So that's one set of people, and we're talking to a lot of those. And the second lot are those that have sold a practice, are young enough and have the will to actually do it all again. And we've got a few examples of those starting up again and doing very well. Back to your question, if people ask us, right now is a brilliant time to be starting your own practice. The veterinary profession is on fire if you do it right and do it well. So we're advising a lot of practices on startups, where to go. Key challenges for new startups: property, finance, planning, and then their business plan. So they need a lot of help and advice on a limited budget. That's always a challenge. Start agains have all the advantages. The interesting thing, which we might get to, is combinations of those. Younger vets with older mentors with money is a nice combination, and we're encouraging those sorts of cooperative arrangements as well.
Numbers wise, finance wise, if I've not got that money, Jeff, what would be some of the better ways for me to look about finding the finance at the moment? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but that's what I do.
No, that's right. Finance has become massively important. At the moment, the new loans that have been offered in this government is effectively as an 80% guarantee by the government. I don't think it won't be as good as the civil's position, but it will be okay, and especially if people are working with other people with down payments and deposits. What works beautifully well is that there is unlimited capital allowances, effectively 130% announced in the budget, and that's this sort of super allowance will make a big difference. Also, from a property point of view, the property's got to be right, but we're going to have, I imagine there's going to be a lot of landlords who've got empty properties. They're not going to want to pay empty property rates. They may be doing deals. They may also be the planning rules are much more flexible. There's I believe there's a sort of 2-year window where you can pretty much do anything. And obviously, running a successful business after that, it shouldn't be a problem to get planning converted over. So there's a lot of flexibility associated with that. It's a brilliant opportunity to go into business. There's the taking on the apprenticeship stuff with £3,000 allowance you can get. They really want to encourage you, and I think because of I would say the competition being more, obviously corporate competition, what I'm hearing around the campfire is that actually that old school sort of good service stuff about people who genuinely care, actually there's a demand for that. And obviously the more corporate stuff there is around, the more that people say, well, where am I going to take, where am I going to go? And that sort of personal service counts for so much. So I think it's a brilliant opportunity now. Obviously, as with all things, it takes a bit of guts, and typically people who go into veterinary practice aren't business people. They don't go in with that sort of commercial head on how they do it. They go into it because they love the job. So it's quite so often working with the right coach or mentor is going to be really important to get that to get that right. So, but I think amazing opportunity at the moment, really good opportunity.
So Alan and Jeff say it's an amazing opportunity, Vicky. But could you see an actual expansion in the ratios? Maybe we could see a bit of a boom in startups of independent practices. If so, why?
Well, I think we absolutely are going to. We've had more inquiries in the last few months than we've ever had. If you look back about 4 years, we probably get 1, 2, 3 startups a year. We're getting probably 4 or 5 inquiries a week from vets saying, I want to start my own business. Can you help me? I mean, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to begin, but I need to do this. And we had a practice, one of our coaches had a practice start, I think it was the 1st of April or the 1st of May last year. And obviously they were very worried, but they'd already committed, so they did it anyway. And their business is absolutely booming. It exceeded anything they expected in that first year. It was incredible. People are just knocking on their door, and I think they're at the point where they had to close their books because they were too busy. As a brand new business, I mean, that's unlikely to happen, and it did.
But I mean, one of the things that would strike me about all this is we haven't really seen the long-term effects of the pandemic yet in terms of what it's going to do to the economy. You know, borrowing's absolutely massive. It will ultimately begin to impact on what people have to spend and on what. Do you still think that the money, or the pet pound as we call it, will prove to be as resilient as it always has, Alan?
If you've been around as long as I have, you probably didn't, but if you've been through the 80s and the 90s and the thousands and the...
I just about remember the 90s, Alan.
Yeah, no, well, I won't bore you with my long history. But yeah, we go through cycles, and there's some really tough times, and practices have generally done very well in hard times, okay? Because people are people, so what they do is revert back to the basics of community, their pet care, their family, etc. We saw it through the COVID, that there were so many new puppies bought, people actually got involved with pet owning, people sat at home and actually looked at their animals and actually made, buying decisions around that. So, the economy, and we're not independent of the economy, but we certainly go counter to it much of the time if you do it right. So here's the proviso: if we just act in a commercial way, we'll get what we normally get. But what I love about the veterinary profession and working with independent veterinary practices, we create a microeconomy around ourselves that actually floats through that really well. Now, I'm sounding hyper optimistic with this, but to be honest, it has proven to be the fact all the way through. And I'm seeing a very positive result of COVID from a veterinary perspective. If I was a bit younger, I might open my own practice. We'll see.
Well, you did have a practice. We went back into it with Hollyoak recently, didn't you? The pair of you, and you did great work there for them. I mean, that was certainly a story that ended well for everyone, wasn't it?
Well, if I have a boast at all, we do know how to make a practice successful. I mean, that's part of what we do, and that's what we're kind of offering to a lot of our startups now. They haven't got much money, they've got limited time, they've got limited experience, they're hard work, to be honest, but it is the future of the profession. We've got to invest in these people to take it forward.
And so we'd all agree then, and I'll give you all in on this point, that the veterinary sector as a whole needs a healthy, robust, energetic, independent sector to thrive. Vicky?
Well, I think there's great opportunity now for independents, and I know we're going to see a lot more of them coming up. And as long as they've got a sound business plan and know what they're doing, hopefully it will thrive.
Jeff, any words of wisdom from the number cruncher?
That's it. It's all around. The trouble is, it's all around the money, because typically to set up a practice, it's between £200,000 and £400,000. This is not a small amount of money, and it's not something you can. Well, you might be able to go to your dad and ask for, but that's you need a rich dad to do that. So it needs to be. There's going to be, I think, a lot of sort of partnering people. I mean, in fact, bizarrely, one of my clients sort of wanted to go back, and actually I was really keen to actually do a joint venture with them, because I thought that'd be fantastic. I was happy to sort of put the money in and see where it's going to go, because it is a very it's a great thing. Once you've got it's the big thing is those barriers to entry. But if there's a way around that, and there is some there's some finance available, so it's got to be around sort of secure people. It's not really straightforward to open it because of the cost, but if you can get past that, then, and with a good business plan and with good coaches, you'll do very well. So it's that sort of first stage barrier, but getting past that, you should go really well.
And final word to you, Alan, on that.
I just want to make sure we're not sort of creating this independent corporate schism as we tend to do. Independents need to be there, corporates need to be there, and we need to be interacting and bouncing off each other. That needs to homogenize out. Back to Jeff's point, there are some really innovative plans coming through at the moment. We know that there's property available with planning permission around the country. We can access that. We're working with financiers, but not just the normal banks and that sort of thing, because that's sort of traditional and they're not interested particularly, but there are crowdsourcing entrepreneurial vets interested in the profession who are going to contribute to this. We have the skill sets and we're going to build a new future, and it's going to work in a very different way. I'm sure of that, but all going to be very good.
And on that note, I think I'm going to leave it, but the message would be, if you have the will and the wherewithal and you want to open your practice, get out there and do it now, because it's a pretty good time for a number of reasons you've expressed very clearly to us. So once again, thank you, Alan. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Vicky. It's been great.
Pleasure. Thank you.